Let's begin where all discipline truly begins, not with effort, not with struggle, not even with willpower, but with purpose. You see, most people try to become disciplined before they decide what they really want, and that is why they struggle. They wake up determined for a few days, maybe even a few weeks, but eventually their energy fades. Why? Because discipline without direction is exhausting. It feels like pushing a heavy cart uphill with no idea what's waiting at the top. Self-discipline is not about forcing yourself to do things you hate. It's about training yourself to stay loyal to something you deeply want. If your goals are unclear, your actions will be inconsistent. If your vision is weak, your discipline will be fragile. But when your purpose is strong, when you know exactly what you're building, discipline stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like progress. Let me ask you a serious question. What do you want? Not what sounds impressive, not what others expect from you, not what looks good on social media. What do you want? Clarity is power. A vague goal produces vague results. Saying, "I want to be successful," is not enough. Successful at what? By when? Why? The mind cannot organize around confusion. But the moment you define something clearly, I want to build this business, I want to improve my health, I want financial independence, your behavior begins to align with that picture. Discipline grows naturally when the target is clear, but clarity alone is not enough. You must also answer the deeper question, why? Why does this matter to you? Why is it worth the sacrifice? Why is it worth waking up early, staying focused, saying no to distractions? When the why is weak, excuses become strong. When the why is strong, excuses become irrelevant. You can endure almost any how when you have a powerful why. Some people say they want success, but they are not emotionally committed to the result. They like the idea of success, but they are not attached to the responsibility that comes with it, and self-discipline requires emotional commitment. It requires a decision that says, "This matters enough for me to change." Purpose gives discipline meaning. Without meaning, effort feels empty. Now here is something important. Once you define what you want and why you want it, you must also ask yourself what it will cost. Because everything worthwhile has a price, success has a price, health has a price, growth has a price. Confidence has a price, the price is always paid in advance, and the currency is discipline. The question is not whether you will pay a price. Question is which price you will pay, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret, the pain of preparation or the pain of disappointment. When your purpose is clear, you willingly pay the price. You understand that sacrifice is not loss, it is investment. And here's the beauty of it. Once you are emotionally connected to your purpose, discipline becomes less about force and more about alignment. You are no longer fighting yourself, you are directing yourself. Instead of saying, "I have to do this," you begin to say, "I choose to do this." That shift is powerful. Because self-discipline at its highest level is self-leadership. It is the ability to command your actions in service of your vision. And leadership begins with vision. If you drift through life without deciding where you're going, you will always struggle with discipline. Why wake up early if there is nowhere meaningful to go? Why resist temptation if there is no larger objective? Why persist through difficulty if there is no compelling outcome? But once the destination is clear, the path becomes purposeful. Clarity eliminates confusion, purpose eliminates hesitation, commitment eliminates excuses, and suddenly, discipline is no longer about forcing behavior. It becomes about protecting your dream. You protect your time because it serves your goal. You protect your energy because it fuels your mission. You protect your habits because they shape your future. That is when discipline becomes personal. Most people try to manage their time before they manage their vision. But you cannot manage what you have not defined. Decide what matters most. Decide what kind of life you are building. Decide who you intend to become, and once you decide, truly decide, discipline becomes the natural response. Because when you know what you want, and you know why you want it, and you accept the price required to achieve it, self-discipline stops being a struggle. It becomes a choice, and that choice changes everything. Now, once your purpose is clear, the next step is simple, but not easy. You must take control of the small daily habits. You see, we often overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 5. Why? Because we are fascinated with big moments. We admire dramatic success stories. We celebrate breakthroughs. But success rarely happens in a breakthrough. It happens in a routine. Self-discipline does not live in the extraordinary. It lives in the ordinary. It lives in the moment the alarm rings and you decide whether to rise or to roll over. It lives in the decision to finish what you started, even when your enthusiasm has faded. It lives in choosing to read 10 pages instead of scrolling for 30 minutes. These are small decisions, almost invisible, and yet they are shaping your future quietly and consistently. Every day, you are casting votes for the type of person you are becoming. When you keep a small promise to yourself, you strengthen your identity. When you break a small promise, you weaken it. The difference may not seem significant in the moment, but repeated daily, it becomes destiny. The challenge is this: small habits do not feel important. They do not bring applause. They do not deliver immediate results. And because of that, most people neglect them. But the secret of self-discipline is understanding that what is easy to do is also easy not to do. It's easy to wake up early. It's easy not to. It's easy to exercise. It's easy not to. It's easy to prepare. It's easy not to. The difference between success and failure often lies in those small choices that seem insignificant at the time. You don't build discipline by attempting to overhaul your entire life in one weekend. You build discipline by mastering today. Not the whole year, not the whole decade, just today. If you want to strengthen your self-discipline, start small enough that you cannot fail. Choose one habit, one improvement, one daily action that aligns with your purpose. Maybe it's waking up 30 minutes earlier. Maybe it's writing for 20 minutes. Maybe it's cutting out one unhealthy habit. Consistency matters more than intensity. Many people start strong. They are motivated. They are excited. They go all in, and then a week later, they disappear. Why? Because intensity without consistency is unsustainable. Self-discipline grows through repetition. Repetition builds reliability. Reliability builds confidence, and confidence strengthens discipline. When you repeatedly do what you said you would do, something powerful happens inside you. You begin to trust yourself. And self-trust is priceless. Without self-trust, discipline feels like a battle. With self-trust, discipline feels like character. Now, let's talk about another important principle. Environment shapes behavior. If you want to control your habits, you must control your environment. If distractions are within reach, your discipline will constantly be tested. But if you design your environment to support your goals, discipline becomes easier. Success is not only about willpower, it is about structure. Prepare the night before, set up your workspace. Remove temptations. Make good choices convenient and bad choices inconvenient. When you structure your environment wisely, you reduce the need for constant decision making. And the fewer unnecessary decisions you have to make, the more energy you preserve for meaningful progress. Small habits compound. A single positive action may not seem powerful today, but repeated daily it becomes unstoppable. Just as small financial investments grow with compound interest, small disciplined actions grow into remarkable results. Health is built meal by meal, knowledge is built page by page, Wealth is built dollar by dollar. Confidence is built promise by promise. And here is something crucial to understand. You will not always feel like doing the right thing. Feelings are temporary. Discipline must be permanent. If you rely on mood, you will be inconsistent. If you rely on commitment, you will be steady. The most disciplined people are not the most motivated. They are the most consistent. They show up when they feel like it. They show up when they don't. They show up because that is who they are. And that is the ultimate goal, not to force yourself daily, but to become the kind of person who simply does what needs to be done. Every small disciplined action is a vote for that identity. You don't need dramatic change. You need daily improvement. Win the morning, win the next decision, win the next hour. Stack enough small wins together, and they create momentum. Momentum creates belief. Belief creates power, and before you know it, the habits that once required effort become automatic. That is how self-discipline is built quietly, steadily, one small decision at a time. Master the small habits, and you master your life. Now, let's talk about one of the most powerful forms of discipline you will ever develop, the ability to delay gratification. This is where self-discipline becomes truly tested. It's easy to be disciplined when the reward is immediate. It's easy to work hard when praise comes quickly. It's easy to stay focused when results show up fast. But life doesn't always reward you on schedule. In fact, most worthwhile achievements demand effort long before they deliver results. And that is where most people quit. They trade what they want most for what they want now. They trade long-term success for short-term comfort. They trade financial freedom for immediate spending. They trade health for temporary pleasure. They trade growth for convenience. The challenge is not that people don't know what to do. The challenge is that they struggle to choose the future over the present. Self-discipline asks you to make decisions today that your future self will thank you for. That means saying no to distractions. That means saying no to impulses. That means sometimes sitting in discomfort without immediately escaping it. We live in a world designed for instant gratification. Food is instant. Entertainment is instant. Communication is instant. Everything around you encourages speed and convenience, but success still operates on the law of preparation, patience, and persistence. You cannot plant a seed today and demand fruit tomorrow. You must water it, protect it, nurture it. Wait for it. The ability to wait, that is power. When you delay gratification, you are telling yourself, I am in control. You are not reacting to every desire. You are not surrendering to every impulse. You are choosing consciously, and that choice builds strength. Now, let's be clear. Delaying gratification does not mean denying joy forever. It means prioritizing wisely. It means understanding that temporary discomfort often produces permanent results. Think about physical training. The discomfort of exercise is temporary, but the strength and health it builds can last a lifetime. Think about studying. The discipline of learning when others are relaxing may feel difficult in the moment, but the knowledge and opportunity it creates can change your future. Think about saving money. The sacrifice of not spending today can produce security and freedom tomorrow. Delayed gratification is not deprivation. It is strategic patience. And here is something important. Discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is often a signal that you are growing. Most people interpret discomfort as danger. They feel resistance and they retreat. But disciplined individuals understand that discomfort is part of progress. It is the stretching of capacity. It is the strengthening of character. If you can sit with discomfort without immediately trying to escape it, you develop emotional control. And emotional control is one of the highest forms of self-discipline. You will feel the urge to quit. You will feel the urge to indulge. You will feel the urge to procrastinate, but you do not have to obey every urge. Feelings are suggestions, not commands. The question you must ask yourself in those moments is simple. Will this move me forward, or will it hold me back? That single question can change your life, because in that pause, that brief space between impulse and action, lies your power. When you pause, you regain control. When you choose intentionally, you strengthen discipline. Every time you delay a small gratification in favor of a meaningful goal, you reinforce your identity as someone who is in control. An identity is everything. You don't become disciplined by wishing for it. You become disciplined by proving it to yourself in small, consistent ways. When you resist spending unnecessarily, you build financial discipline. When you resist unhealthy habits, you build physical discipline. When you resist distractions, you build mental discipline, and over time, that resistance becomes easier. Why? Because you begin to value the future more than the moment. Successful people are not superhuman. They simply think longer term. They are willing to endure temporary inconvenience for permanent advantage. They understand that short-term pleasure often creates long-term pain, and short-term discipline often creates long-term freedom. That perspective changes everything. When you truly understand that every choice is either building your future or borrowing against it, you begin to make wiser decisions. The snack, the scroll, the extra hour of sleep, none of these are catastrophic by themselves, but repeated daily, they shape your destiny. Just as repeated daily discipline shapes it in the opposite direction, so train yourself to pause. Train yourself to ask the right question. Train yourself to remember what you ultimately want, because the person who can delay gratification is the person who can design their life instead of reacting to it. And when you master that ability, you gain control over your future. Now let's bring it all together, because self-discipline is not proven in one decision, 1 week, or 1 season. It is proven through consistency. Anyone can be disciplined for a day. Anyone can be focused when they feel inspired. Anyone can make a promise when emotion is high, but the real test of self-discipline is this: can you remain steady when the excitement fades? Consistency is where character is revealed. We often admire intensity. We celebrate the dramatic transformation, the overnight success, the bold declaration. But intensity is temporary. Consistency is what creates results. You do not need to be extreme. You need to be steady. The person who improves 1% each day will outperform the person who improves 10% once in a while. Why? Because steady action compounds. Small progress, repeated daily, becomes unstoppable momentum. Think of self-discipline as a muscle. The first time you exercise it, it feels difficult. You may struggle. You may doubt yourself, but every time you follow through, especially when you don't feel like it, you strengthen that muscle. Every kept promise builds strength. Every completed task builds confidence. Every act of follow-through builds identity. And identity is powerful. When you consistently do what you said you would do, you begin to see yourself differently. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries, and you begin to see yourself as someone who executes. That shift changes everything, because confidence is not built by positive thinking alone. Confidence is built by evidence. It is built by looking at your own behavior and saying, I can trust myself, and self-trust is the foundation of self-discipline. If you repeatedly break promises to yourself, even small ones, you begin to doubt your own word. You set goals, but secretly question whether you will follow through. That internal doubt weakens discipline, but when you develop the habit of consistency, even in small things, you rebuild that trust. Now understand this: consistency does not mean perfection. You will have days when you fall short. You will have moments when you miss the mark. That is part of being human. The difference between the disciplined and the undisciplined is not that one never fails, it is that one never quits. If you miss a day, correct it the next. If you stumble, regain your footing. If you lose momentum, rebuild it. Do not allow one mistake to become a pattern. Too many people abandon their goals because they demand perfection from themselves. They miss one workout and they give up entirely. They break one habit and they declare defeat. That is not discipline. That is emotional reaction. Discipline says adjust and continue. Consistency is about showing up more often than not. It is about refusing to let temporary setbacks become permanent excuses. And here is something important. Your consistency should be aligned with your purpose. Remember, discipline without direction is exhausting, but discipline aligned with purpose becomes energizing. When you know why you are showing up, it becomes easier to keep showing up, and over time, consistency simplifies life. You no longer debate with yourself every morning. You no longer negotiate with your commitments. You simply act. That is freedom. Many people think discipline restricts them. In reality, it liberates them, because when your actions are consistent, your progress becomes predictable. And when progress becomes predictable, confidence grows. You begin to trust the process. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to believe that your future is in your hands. Consistency also builds resilience. The more regularly you push through resistance, the less intimidating it becomes. What once felt difficult becomes normal. What once required effort becomes routine. And that is the goal, to make disciplined behavior part of who you are, not something you force yourself to do. When discipline becomes identity, you no longer rely on motivation. You rely on standards. You set a standard for your behavior. You set a standard for your effort. You set a standard for your character, and you live up to it not occasionally, but consistently. The truth is simple. Extraordinary results are the outcome of ordinary actions done consistently over time. There is no secret formula. There is no shortcut. There is only the daily choice to show up, to follow through, to stay aligned with your purpose, to delay gratification when necessary, and to keep going even when progress feels slow. Consistency is quiet. It is not glamorous, but it is powerful. And if you commit to steady action day after day, week after week, you will look back one day and realize that the small disciplines you practiced quietly have built a life of strength, confidence, and freedom. That is the power of consistency.